Vaccine eligibility widens in the United States while the COVID situation in Europe deteriorates. Who got a ticket to the big dance and what you missed at the Grammys? Monday, need to know. Let's go. Good morning. This is Cheddar's Need to Know podcast for Monday, March 15th. I am Jill Wagner with Carlo Versano. Carlo,
It's been quite a morning, Jill. It's been quite a morning over here. I somehow managed to not change the alarm on the one alarm that matters in my house, which is the one that wakes me up, obviously. I just woke up and I'm utterly unprepared today, and I'm deeply embarrassed. And I'm sorry, but Jill, you've been helping me out this morning, just catching me up on the news that I missed while I was getting my 9 hours of sleep last night. So thank you.
Well, you're going to feel great in a couple of hours because as you said, you probably got a ton of sleep. But I woke up and I'm like, Carlo doesn't look like Carlo's up. There's nothing new in our Google document that we use to write the podcast. So I keep checking. Then I'm calling you and I'm like, there's no way he did the most cliche thing of cliches, which would be to oversleep on the Monday after we changed the clocks.
Is there a bigger amateur hour move than that?
No,
than
it's such a rookie
the day
move.
after? It's such a, I'm really embarrassed. Sorry, everybody.
All good. Okay, so let's just get to some news here. The U.S. administered nearly 3 million COVID-19 vaccine shots during one day this weekend, which is a daily record, according to the White House. And it comes as eligibility requirements are easing across the country. As of today, teachers across the U.S. can get shots. When it comes to cases, we've continued to plateau. This means that the curve has flattened, but not in the good way, because we're just no longer going down when it comes to cases. Experts say it's perhaps because of these new, more contagious variants. Americans, though, optimistic. The TSA recording the highest number of daily passenger checkpoint screenings since last year as spring break arrives and more Americans travel. And again, more jurisdictions have started to loosen their COVID restrictions. As of today, LA County is opening up indoor dining and movie theaters. LA County, this is huge because at one point, this was the epicenter of the outbreak in the United States.
And just a little more on the vaccine eligibility requirements, because there are a bunch of states opening them today. So California, now anybody, if you have a serious underlying condition in California, you're now eligible. That's big. That's a lot of people. I think something like 4.5 million now that are now eligible in that state. Georgia is now 55 and up, plus anybody with high risk conditions. Texas is now 50 and up. New York is expanding to our next phase on Wednesday. And I thought that this was interesting. Our governor now authorizing 4 hours paid time off for every public and private employee in New York State. So that's big, just in terms of, Joe, what we were talking about the other day about, like, there may be plenty of people out there who want this shot and they just don't have the time or the ability to go get it. So I'm hoping that we're going to see more stuff like that in different states as more eligibility opens.
And something to keep an eye on. It came up on the Sunday shows. I'm not sure if you heard. Dr. Fauci was asked by Jake Tapper over on CNN about possible changes to when it comes to schools. Right now, it's still that 6 feet that you need between students. And some studies have shown, looking at schools, that 3 feet might really be all that you need. And that would be a huge difference, because part of the problem is that these classrooms are not designed for children to be sitting 6 feet apart. There's just simply not enough room. So if those guidelines are changed, it could potentially, and teachers are now able to get vaccinated across this country, perhaps you will see very soon more schools reopening for in-person learning, which would be incredibly important for students.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that, but that actually makes sense. I mean, the 6 feet thing, when you think about it, like, that was one of those things that we just sort of accepted as canon. But, like, it's not, I mean, every place you go in New York, it's like, keep a 6 foot distance. It's like, it's not like the virus just stops at like 6 feet and 1 inch, right? And once we found out that it was in the aerosols, not just in like the big droplets, that to me that really made the 6 feet thing and like the plexiglass barriers, all of that stuff was pretty much rendered kind of irrelevant because once it's out there in the air like that, it doesn't really, these sorts of things don't matter. So I mean, I understand why we do that, and it's like a rule of thumb, but I think that makes a lot of sense in terms of schools.
Right, as long as everyone's wearing masks, I think
That's
that
the big
that
one. Yeah,
probably
that's the
is
biggie.
the big thing. Meanwhile, in Europe, Italy going into a new lockdown today. Half of the country is under new restrictions until April 6th. The entire country is going to be under strict lockdown measures for Easter weekend, and they are now seeing exponential growth from one of the more dangerous variants.
It's really it's remarkable if you look at what's happening in Europe right now, in the EU especially. It's these variants. I think that we're going to avoid this here. I remain optimistic that we're going to avoid what's happening in Europe because our vaccine uptake is so good now. 3 million shots a day. I mean, that's a lot, right? And in Europe, they have utterly bungled. I mean, we talk about how we bungled our early vaccine rollout. Countries like Germany, Italy, France, it's a disaster over there, and it's remarkable because you'd think this is the whole point of the EU, right? To be able to marshal some big cross country situation like this, and they just haven't been able to do it. But this just goes back to the exponential growth, right? Once you start to see this virus, once you start to see the exponential growth on the chart, once that shows up in the data, it's probably already too late. And I think that's what you're seeing in Italy now. It's scary, and we do have to be vigilant about this. This ain't over yet.
The concern here, right, is this fourth surge potentially,
Right.
because we tend to be 3 weeks or so behind Italy but behind Europe. On that
Hmm.
notion of the European Union, the UK has been crushing
Yeah,
vaccination. So if you just want to look at face value here, this is one of the first issues post Brexit. So you've got to think that, does this add credence to that argument that maybe the Brexit, maybe breaking off from the European Union was the right move, right? I mean, I'm not,
yeah,
I don't know enough about it to even weigh in, but at least, but notable that the
absolutely.
UK, their vaccination rate, I think is actually even higher than us here in the United States.
I would be really interested in seeing some polling on that. Actually, I wonder. I'm gonna look into that because it's a fascinating argument, right? Why is the UK better? Well, they just Brexited and they don't have to deal with Brussels and all of the supply issues that the EU has.
There's also this argument that more like liberal countries or areas handled the outbreak better because they were quicker to maybe lock
Hmm.
down and it was like a more of a collective type of thing, but not handling the vaccinations as well because it's like very politically correct in terms of who gets it,
Too many
so many
rules. Too many.
restrictions,
Yeah.
and versus other places where they're just like get these shots in people's arms. It doesn't
Right.
matter if you fit this very narrow description of
Right. Right.
eligibility. Just that's one kind of look,
Makes
we
sense
don't
to
know,
me.
right? Like
Yeah.
we're not gonna really know much about that until this is all over, right? And we could really
Right.
study how everything played out. To expand though on something you mentioned last week about the country's mood, Americans growing increasingly optimistic about the next few months. The latest CBS News poll showing 64% of respondents think the vaccine rollout is going well. 55% will get or already have gotten vaccinated. 75% are in favor of that new stimulus package, and 71% think the law is going to help the working class.
Those are remarkable numbers on the stimulus, and Republicans are really not on the right page when it comes to the messaging on this bill. But here's the most important thing, and I think you mentioned this last week, Jill. According to NPR, more than 60% of Republican men who haven't been vaccinated already say that they will refuse the shot. So that's the vaccine, the issue that we're having with vaccine uptake. It's amazing, right? It is the Trump base that are refusing it. It is white Republican men who do not want to get this shot. And there's been this sort of like argument in the media, like, we have to do this outreach to minority communities. No, the outreach we need to do is to Trump voters. They're the ones who don't want to get vaccinated, and
It's
it's
incredible.
remarkable, right? I mean, it is remarkable, and the fact that he's not doing anything to assuage them, all the more so.
Here in New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo's vaccine czar has reportedly been calling county officials across the state to gauge their loyalty to the governor amid his widening scandals. The calls led at least one local official to believe that the implication was that the vaccine supply could suffer if their loyalty was deemed insufficient, according to stories in the New York Times and Washington Post.
Cuomo on
Not good.
Friday was it Friday that he came out and just said that he had no plans to resign again? I think it was Friday afternoon because it happened right
I
after.
feel like he just does that every day now.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
I,
but I know what you're talking about.
I think it was Friday that Chuck Schumer and Kristen Gillibrand, our Senate delegation, came out and asked him to step down. Now that was interesting because they had both been sort of mum all of a sudden, and then all of a sudden they were just like, yeah, you should leave. So what does that tell you? That tells you that the White House called them and they were like, you guys need to get this guy out of there, and he's not leaving. So I do think I was thinking about this in terms of the White House though, because if you're Joe Biden, you're like, I just passed like the, potentially the most transformational piece of legislation in a generation. And I got people asking me about Andrew Cuomo's sex life in news conference, in the White House press room. Like, get this guy out of here. He's not helping the cause, right? So I think that's why you saw Schumer and Gillibrand come out, although I don't think that he is going to leave.
I guess it depends what this investigation finds and if if any other women come out. And again, notable, Biden at this point has not had a press briefing himself. He had that one primetime address last week. Jen Psaki does daily press briefings, but the president himself has not. And this is the longest in recent history that a president's gone without doing a full press conference. Meanwhile, Disney's streaming platform, such a smashing success that it's now on pace to overtake Netflix in the next 3 years. Disney announcing earlier this month that Disney Plus has more than 100 million subscribers after just 16 months. So between Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, Disney expected to steal Netflix's crown as the world's top streamer by 2024.
Remarkable, right? It took Netflix 10 years to reach 100 million. Took Disney Plus a year and a half. Netflix, of course, now has something like 200 million, but just in the U.S. But yeah, absolutely. I still don't have Disney Plus. Do you? I feel like I don't need it.
I do, yeah. We have everything in this house.
Yeah.
We have splurged on streaming services and cable.
It's getting to the point. I mean, I know that this is a rote argument at this point, but it's getting to the point where somebody needs to package these things because it's ridiculous, right? Becky's got a Hulu. I use my dad's HBO Max. I think we both have Netflix. I think there's an Amazon Prime Video out there. It's insane. Someone needs to fix this.
Let's talk a little basketball. Gonzaga, Baylor, Illinois, and Michigan, top seeds for the NCAA men's college basketball tournament, aka March Madness. Gonzaga is the 5th undefeated team to enter the tournament since Indiana had a perfect season back in 1975, notably again Duke, and I believe Kentucky not able to participate because of COVID.
I think it was UVA out. Did UVA make it? I was curious about that. Hang on one second. Yeah, because UVA had to bow out of the ACC. And Michigan State, I believe, is also in. Right? No, you're a Michigan fan, not a Michigan State fan. I always make that mistake. I'm sorry. Should I root for Michigan?
I'm a Michigan alum. But I root for, if Michigan's out, I will root for Ohio State. I was rooting for them yesterday in the Big Ten tournament against Illinois, and they did not win, but they did beat Michigan on Saturday. It was a great game. I don't know. I root for Big Ten if my Wolverines are not in it.
I'm gonna
Okay, let's talk a little Grammys. The 63rd annual Grammy Awards now in the books, and women ruled the night. Beyonce broke the record for all-time wins by any singer and any woman ever with 28 Grammys. This is even before the televised portion of the show. She and her 9-year-old daughter, Blue Ivy Carter, won the award for Best Music Video for the song Brown Skin Girl. Taylor Swift took home Album of the Year for Folklore, which makes her the first woman to win that award 3 times. Billie Eilish got Record of the Year for her track Everything I Wanted. She used part of her acceptance speech to insist that Megan Thee Stallion deserved the award. Speaking of Megan Thee Stallion, the rapper took home Best New Artist, becoming the first female rapper to get that honor since Lauryn Hill in 1999. I watched about 90 minutes or so of the awards. It was half inside, half outside. It was pretty much outside, and then they'd have whoever was nominated kind of under like a tent type thing.
Right.
Everyone in masks, except if you won or were performing or speaking. I thought Trevor Noah did a good job of hosting. I thought it was enjoyable. It was like nice to see some live music and some just like a live award show. What did you watch? Is that what you were doing up late last night?
No, first of all, I tried to watch it, but it was on CBS, and as we know, CBS makes it virtually impossible for you to watch live television if you don't have a cable subscription, which is annoying. But no, I was tied up yesterday, so I didn't really get to see anything, which is why I feel completely out of the loop today, and I apologize for that. But I am going to watch the Grammys today because they're my favorite award show, and I like Trevor Noah. I think I don't know. I'm still sort of torn on him. I think I like him.
I thought he was good. Look, he had tough shoes to fill, right, with taking over the Daily Show for Jon Stewart. But I thought whatever. I'm a fan. I thought the show was good. I think you'll like it. Harry Styles performed Watermelon Sugar. It was just like nice, uplifting.
Yeah, I think so it's funny that they've now sort of figured out how to do these award shows in COVID, right? Because I think pretty much now all of them have done. Oh, and I guess not the Oscars. We'll get the Oscars in a month or so, and then we will have done an entire circuit of COVID award shows.
And if we talked about mask chic at one of the previous award shows. These musicians really brought out the fashion for their masks. It was quite impressive.
All right, so I'm going to watch today, and I'll have some comments for you tomorrow. I'm sorry.
Okay, we're going to end it there.
Such a mess.
Carlo, I'm glad we got this in. There was a point not that long ago this morning that I'm like, I'm doing it alone.
I'm sorry.
All right, everybody. That is what you need to know for Monday, March 15th.
Ides of March. See you guys tomorrow.